Hey guys, this will be a review of Thunderbird by RQM, one of the maps that was submitted to the Challenge 1 category of the TeamLiquid map contest, or the TeamLiquid map contest 12, and is a very worthy finalist. One of the most, personally, one of the most interesting maps that like surged up from the category itself, just because of uh, its usage of the mineral patch feature, mineral wall feature, which I think will like basically set the way in which we will be using them like from now on. And it is basically this. He made two walls of mineral patches, with each of them having like 5 minerals in each of them. Therefore, he gets rid of the previous problems of having a single wall of mineral patches with with like between 15 to like 40, maybe 55 minerals in them, and that was caused problems. That was a problem by itself, because of the if you have a mineral patch with 55 minerals in them, then that mineral wall can't be walled easily, can't be mined easily. Therefore, it goes against its own purpose. So that 55 minerals, it is in order to make sure that two mules can't make a full opening in it. So by creating this, it uses as more space, but that is still like very compact. So by doing this, it's absolutely great, and I think it's something basically that it points the way and how we will need to be continue to advance in this area if the next TeamLiquid map contest continues to use them. So going directly into the map, it looks gorgeous. I think that it looks very much like something that it has a very similar style to something that New Sunshine will do, and he has like a gorgeous like map style by itself. I think that the borders of the map will indeed need more love, alongside like adding more doodads and whatnot. But by itself, it's a gorgeous piece of map. The lighting in gameplay might be slightly too foggy. I'm not entirely sure what is going on, but there is a foggy thing to it when playing in like between high and extreme graphical settings, and that's something that maybe needs to get a look at, especially in the lighting. I don't think it's like the fog actually, but probably the lighting. The natural base, it is well set up. It doesn't have like too many it doesn't have like if I recall correctly, there was a version that used to have a problem with cannon rushes, but that was way back then. But the map itself doesn't have like problem with cannon rushes, which is always a bonus. The Bespin geysers are well positioned. The only issue I have, kind of, and that is the overlord pod is like slightly too far from the natural choke entrance. I think that as an alternative, a small little high ground pod could be placed around this area in order to avoid it becoming a possible problem in CVC. But even then, I don't think that's too much of an issue. When it comes to the map itself, it's using standard mineral lines, and the layout is like very interesting with the small mineral walls. That actually, if you mine one of the mineral patches, you get like a faster path than if you had sent your initial scouting worker around this. So you will always have like an incentive to mine the mineral patch. That's very neat. Problems with the map itself. There is a gameplay problem in here, because when a player is taking a base and the mineral lines start to become saturated, workers from this mineral line will start to mine this mineral wall. And beyond that, if you have like a considerable amount of workers in here and they start mining this mineral wall, some of the workers might actually want to path and go all the way around and mine this other side of the wall, and that is a serious problem. So there is two possible fixes to this. First, there is the sketchy fix that might be just go take the mineral line and make it like some oops, whoops, some sort of cardinal mineral line, something like this. Oops. There we go. That took a while. Anyhow, we go and make it something like this. That will help reduce the worker bouncing, but it won't remove it completely. So there is the, oh no, we'll need to undo everything. Oh, there you can see I was testing it. So you can go and just, where is it? You can just flip the mineral line, something like this. And this gets rid of the problem completely. The problem is that I personally don't think it looks so pretty. Just because I'm not sure. There might be something in the visual balance of the area, but I don't think that it looks so pretty as it did previously. But gameplay goes first. So we will need to try to do something like this. And anyhow, I'm sorry for screwing up the clip. But something like this might actually work and just fix it permanently. In the same sense, when rotating the mineral line, this other mineral wall won't become a problem. So that's very good. I tested it with like 40 workers and trying to force them to mine in the mineral wall, so that won't happen. That said, I still maybe think that this mineral wall might need to be removed. If anything, to allow for a easier time doing harassment to this base, to this fourth base. As it also helps correct the expansion pattern for the bottom left of the map, because with this middle wall it is like too sturdy. It works beautifully for the third base, but for the fourth base it might break up too much of the map. I don't think that it is particularly worth it. Still though, this one works, and it has it also has this mineral line, but there is like really not really a way to fix it per se. So that's something that should probably just stay, or maybe unless Blizzard might want to take the map into ladder and just change this middle wall for like a rock, a set of like diagonal rocks, something like that. That might actually be like a slight fix to it. It is still not ideal, obviously. Like I really like how it works at the moment, but that might actually be the way to go forward if Blizz decides to take the map into ladder and doesn't like the behavior, because there will be workers like bouncing to the back of this mineral wall, just like there were workers trying to bounce to this other back. When it comes to the rest of the map, this is slightly dangerous. Remember, guys, these Vespian geysers, every single one of them is the same as two normal Vespian geysers. They in the past used to be the same as 1.5, but they buffed them when they added the new glow. So that's something that is to be very like carefully done. I don't think that is too much of a problem because of the way the map is executed, but it's still something it's a very high concern, and that's something that basically had me dequalifying maps from like other categories, because you guys were using high rich mineral patches alongside too rich Vespian geysers, and that is just not okay. Just the mineral patches by themselves are a balance concern, and when merged with the two Vespian geysers, that is like way too much. So don't do that. This is like the most risky thing that I would like actually tell them that is like okay. When it comes to this, the map in this area used to be like considerably chokier, and it could open up. In this area as well, I would also recommend to like just try to bite more of the unpathable area. One of the risks, one of the very serious concerns that I have for Thunderbird is that the map might be too overall choky. Just like something that it's very reminiscent of Fracture by Avex, a very aggressive map that ended up being like not very liked by the community because it was too overall choky, and didn't have like enough alternative pathways, enough true alternative pathways, and problems trying to set up flanks and whatnot. So yeah, that's a concern for this. I don't think that, for example, in this area it is acceptable. The river path is like okay, it is very well done. But for example, areas such as this one, this base could like very easily be pushed back. I understand to a degree that RQM wants these side bases to be able to be taken by the player in top left in this case, but I still think that this base should also be easily to be taken from the bottom right. So in order to fix that, you just push the base a little bit to the bottom, and you can try to open it up in order to make it like slightly more open, and at the same time we can like slightly tighten this area in order to create like a stronger choke point, and in order to accent it, to make it more visually distinctive to players, we cannot just oops, come on, oh not okay, we can add some small little high grounds, something like this, then obviously like just paint them over in order to make them visually distinctive. Something like that is where the idea is going to, because as it stands, the concern of fracture is that this area can't be any attack that goes to the south directly to the frontal third, can't be like flanked easily, if at all, from the back. As you can see, it's like not really something that can be done easily. So any attack that comes to here will be like hard to deal with, especially if it comes from here. By creating the choke point, you are making like slightly harder to push directly into this area by accenting the choke point in here. Also, it obviously will also need to be, this area will need to be open up to while accenting the choke point in order to like maintain the soap human the soap human ideas the soap human ideas from like bridges and choke points and open areas. The Selnaga towers, I don't think that they are like particularly interesting. Like they are there and they are well positioned within the entire idea of the map. I don't think that is strictly necessary, but they give like something. They give an excuse to RQM to add like these small little high grounds and avoid like the possible problem of having like boring corners. So that's still like that's a bonus. In the rest of the map, there isn't like OB pods through this area, but that's really not much of a problem because we have this. That said, I still think that maybe this might need to go. I'm not entirely sure if that's strictly necessary, but as an option, we could have like, for example, oops, we'll just remove all of the doodads, add the rocks, and just add like some line of sight blockers inside of the rocks themselves. And this will be so. Oops. Okay. Let's see if we can find some pretty. Okay, let's do this anyways. Something like that. So the entire idea will be that it will still have like the gameplay implications of having the high ground in there, but it will give the player that takes the center the option of taking this out and having like the capabilities of building a stronger concave in the high ground when enemy players tries to attack up. So this idea comes from a couple of the games that were played in the World Tournament, especially the playoffs. There were like a couple games, if I recall correctly, where there were some very like late game scenarios with tempests and lurkers and hydras, and the air army was having like the upper hand against the Zerg opponent, even when he had like the strategically advantage position. I think that that's acceptable, because that is a late game situation with Protoss and Zerg. The Zerg generally will always have like the not the upper hand in it, but with this, it gives the option for the Zerg player or for any player that is in this situation to take down the rocks and build a stronger concave. So that's just like something that to put out there. That might actually be something that other map makers might want to have a look at in the future for their own maps, and in order to create like situations like this where players can like strongly interact with the terrain itself. Also, obviously, remember the line of sight blockers, because that way it will also work as an overlord pod throughout the early and mid game. When it comes to the rest of the map, there is really like not much else to say, because it is a very solid creation. Maybe push this pace like slightly back a little bit more, maybe like 2 tiles, something like that, and fix the cliff with it, just in order to make sure that there is like more space in this area to avoid it becoming congested. Like as it stands, in the past it was like a very good map, and this was like a concern that I gave like in prejudging feedback, if I recall correctly. But as it stands, it is like very solid, and I will actually like it to see it in ladder if it were to happen. I think that will be like basically it. And sorry for the hammering in the background. That is a neighbor that is fixing its roof. I think that's basically it, guys. This was Thunderbird by RQM for the Challenge 1 category of the TeamLiquid Map Contest 12. A very strong finalist with some very cool ideas that I am really looking forward into you guys doing into the future. Anyhow, guys, take care and see you in the next map review.